Hello guys, System Shogun here, welcome back. Hope you're doing fine. Today I'm going to show you how you can deploy your own MCP server written in Python into Azure. That works at this point, which is 15th of November 2025. I'm saying this because right now MCP, at least in Azure, is still a preview feature. .NET has an extension that's still in preview. And also, the IPM management service in Azure has a MCP feature which is still in preview. That's why today we're going with the simplest approach, which is using Python and the official MCP SDK. So let's get started. This is my folder here. Let's create requirements. And in there, like I said, we only need one thing, which is the official Python MCP SDK. That's it. Now let's create our Python server. But before we do that, let's create a virtual environment. Let's activate it and let's install the requirements file. Now let's make sure that we're using the correct virtual environment. We do now. And what's left is for us to create a simple MCP server. Let's do that. First, we need this. So now let's add this. And this creates the fast MCP instance, the MCP server. Okay, let's now create an MCP tool, which is a pretty basic tool. This one, it adds two numbers. Now, let's run the MCP server using streamable HTTP transport. And that's it. That's our MCP server. Now, we need to deploy this. For that, we're going to be using Azure, and we will create a web app. Let's go to Azure now. Now, we're in Azure. Let's create a resource group. Let's name it like that. Let's go to the resource group, and now we need to create a web app. We'll provide some name. We're going to be using Python 3.13. And we'll use premium. Fine. Let's create this web app now. Now, we need to tell Azure what to do when the app starts up. Let's go under configuration here. And inside the startup command field, just drop this line. That tells Azure, first install my dependencies, then start the MCP server. Nice and simple. One line and you're good to go. Let's now save this. And now what's left is for us to deploy our MCP server into Azure to this web app. Let's get back to Visual Studio Code now and do that. We're back to Visual Studio Code and we want to deploy this MCP server to our new web app. For that, you need the Azure extension. And let's refresh this just to make sure that we have the latest. And under App Services, here is my new web app that I created under this subscription here. Right click on it and choose Deploy to Web App. Now we wait. Okay, so our web app has been deployed. There are no errors, which is a good sign. Let's get back to Azure Portal now. Let's click Copy to Clipboard here where it says the default domain. And let's now open this MCP server that we just deployed. For that, we just add MCP at the end. And voila, this means that the MCP server is running. Okay, so now how do we test this though? Well, we are going to be using a tool called MCP Inspector. Let's get back to Visual Studio Code now. Let's create a new terminal. And for that, you need npx installed. And here's the command that we're going to be using. Let's run this. And this will start our own MCP inspector. Here it is. Now, let's go back here. Let's copy the endpoint. Put it in here. Make sure we're using streamable HTTP here. And click connect. And it says connected, which means this worked. Now, let's get to tools. List our tools. And we see the only tool that we created, which adds two numbers. Now let's test this. and we see that it worked. And this is how easy it is to deploy your own Python MCP server into Azure. Right now, this is one of the few ways that you can use to deploy production-ready MCP application. .NET is not there yet, so Python is the way to go, at least for now. Thanks so much. I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe. See you next time. Bye.